Good morning. Hey, this is for Wednesday, February 3rd. I'm sorry I didn't put this up here, but to be honest with you, just kind of want to go through each state a little bit more in detail. Also, just to get you, the whole goal is to get you prepared for Friday's test to know the state names, the state capitals. But when we go through all these different states, you're still going to notice a common theme. I'm not trying to be boring on this, but number one, you're going to see certain big cities in the states. Number two, you're going to see a lot of pictures of this open land, which is almost all 100% completely farmland. And number two, you're going to see a lot of different waterways. And now, way back when we talked about being landlocked in Arizona, yes, we have rivers in Arizona, but not good shipping rivers. These in the Midwest states, they're blessed with very, very, very good shipping rivers. And again, it might be hard to see, but here's the Mississippi River. It's just because it's the border of the state. That's why it's kind of hard to see. So here, of course, is Illinois. We had the capital city of Springfield. We got big city in Chicago. And they do border Lake Michigan, which we're going to talk about the Great Lakes tomorrow. And then look at this. They got the Ohio River here. They got the Mississippi River here. They got the Illinois River here. And believe it or not, the Illinois River, you can see how it stops right here. Do you know what they did? They actually built a canal, which is a man-made river. They literally dug a huge hole so that they could have another shipping route from the Illinois River to Lake Michigan. So Illinois is surrounded by good shipping routes. And again, just so you can see a little picture, yep, we got the Sears Tower. We got big cities like Chicago. Here's another picture of Chicago. Here's Springfield, Illinois. We also have lots of farmland, both for growing crops and for livestock and animals. Indiana's the same way. Here's Illinois we talked about. It's just to the west. Here's Indiana. Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, this is one of those rare ones where it's a big city, and it's a capital city. But Gary and South Bend are actually two big cities, too, right next to Lake Michigan, which Indiana barely touches here. But they also have, look, here's the Ohio River right here, and they also have some other rivers that are going through. Indiana, again, they do have some nice waterways, big cities, capital building, also lots of different wide flat land, which is great for farming. Here's Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. I should have told you earlier in the week, a lot of people incorrectly call this Des Moines. That's not correct. It's Des Moines. You just kind of say it without the S's. Des Moines. If you go all the way back, I should have told you this too. A lot of people say Illinois. Nope. You don't say the S, Illinois. Those are both taken from Native American tribes, by the way. And I don't know why they didn't say the S, but that's how they're spelled. But this is Illinois. Now again, flipping ahead again, this is Des Moines, Iowa. Good rivers here. And not a lot of states. I mean, this is a huge, not a huge state, but a big state. You can see this locator map almost smack dab right in the middle of the country. But we had the Mississippi River here in its eastern border, the Missouri River here in its western border, and all these rivers make this great farmland. Iowa is called a lot of times the corn state. You got Nebraska here, which their college football team is called the Corn Huskers. Tons and tons of corn grown here, and really enough that to fill all the different stores and things. And so I got still some Native American tribes there, but mostly what you see, yeah, they got some gorges and things like that. But this is mostly when you think of Iowa, good fertile land that's fed with all these rivers to water the land, and just amazing farmland. Iowa is a big, flat area of land, besides some areas with some hills and gorges. But for the most part, this is what Iowa looks like. Yep, kind of boring to drive through because it's neat to think of all the different crops being grown and the livestock, cattle, pigs, things being raised. But not a lot of fun things to look at because you just kind of drive in a boring landscape. But anyways, here's Kansas. No offense to Kansas, but they got some big cities, but it mostly is just like Iowa, where it is very, very, very flat land. Yes, they grow corn here, but they're even more famous for growing wheat. That's the main ingredient. Things like bread. A lot of your cereals are made from wheat. A lot of different things, more things than you can think of, are made with wheat. And Kansas and these states to the north of it too are famous for that. By the way, remember Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl? Like I said, part of it's in Kansas, which is correctly named Kansas City. And they said, man, should we call this part Missouri? No, let's just keep it Kansas City. So they did, but it's in Missouri, and the Chiefs Stadium is actually in Missouri, even though they're the Kansas City Chiefs. But anyways, Kansas, again, they do have, this is part of that tornado alley, right? Remember that part where the cold weather from Canada comes and meets the warm weather coming from states like Arizona, and that's what can produce these major storms. Notice again the land, flat, and farm fields. Yeah, they got some bigger cities, Kansas City, Wichita, but not many. Lots of rivers feeding that fertile farmland. Michigan. Now, don't forget, this part of is Michigan. We're going to find out how in the world this part is part of Michigan tomorrow. But notice this is called the Great Lakes States, and you can tell exactly why. It is surrounded by 4 of the 5 Great Lakes. Again, we're going to really talk about that tomorrow. Now, Michigan actually has got a lot of farmland, but they also have some bigger cities. Detroit, Michigan. That's where Henry Ford and Ford cars got their start. Different things like this. Kellogg's factory. So they have a lot of factories in this area, but they also have a lot of growing. And in fact, they have this, not that it's different climate. They still got cold temperatures in winter, warm temperatures in summer. But being surrounded by all these lakes, believe it or not, they have a very, very good fruit growing season. My wife is from Michigan, and her uncle owns a blueberry farm. All right, there's a lot of strawberry picking, blueberries, a lot of grapes and different things like that. And you wouldn't think of it in Michigan, but they actually have, because of these Great Lakes, that the weather is very ripe for growing those types of fruits and berries and things like that. Michigan, farmland, bigger cities, Detroit, Saginaw, Grand Rapids, those are pretty good sized cities, and lots of lighthouses. You can go along the entire coast of all these lakes, and they have all these lighthouses, which are basically just that. It's a house to shine a light to warn the different ships going by that, hey, watch out. Very rocky coast here, or there's a lot of parts of Michigan that jut out into the lakes there, and so it's hard at night for ships to see that, so these lighthouses are there to help protect those ships. They don't run in there. Here's Minnesota. A lot of fishing and hunting. My grandparents lived way up here in what's called Brainerd, Minnesota. When you go visit them, there's a long trip up there. It's a big state. A lot of woods, a lot of hunting, a lot of lakes. This is often called, not often, it is called the land of 10,000 lakes. There's all kinds of little lakes all over the place. And it really has these 2 main big cities, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And the rest, yep, they got some other cities thrown in there. But a lot of it is farmland and great for hunting and fishing, and a lot of outdoorsmen like that. And yep, long cold winters. I know, I went to college right here. Long cold winters. Anyways, here's good old Minnesota. The big cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. So remember, St. Paul is the capital city, and then we have a lot of lakes and waterways there. And now we're going a little bit more south to Missouri, Kansas City, St. Louis. Don't forget, the capital city is Jefferson City. They have the Missouri River right here, and the Mississippi River right here. Believe it or not, Missouri has a lot of flat land up north. You see these little triangle type things? Believe it or not, southern Missouri, that's where they start getting some hills and actually a little bit of foothills to the Appalachian Mountains. And that's a picture here where it's a little bit more hillier than the rest of the Great Plains and Midwest states. Here we have some big cave systems. I thought I saw that on the map there. I'm sorry if I'm but I don't see it there. I apologize. I think this huge cave system is right in here going through the Ozark Mountains, but pretty cool. Huge extensive caves that they're actually still discovering. Nebraska. Remember, this is what's called the Cornhusker State. They grow a lot of corn and they grow a lot of wheat. They have some, I mean, these cities on the map really aren't big cities. Yet Lincoln, the capital city, and Omaha are bigger cities right on the rivers. But the rest of this is all farmland. And trust me, I've driven through Nebraska the long way. It's all farmland, which is great for everybody, to for eating and supplying for the country and the world, but a lot of farmland. North Dakota, way up here, North Dakota, way up there, really a lot of the same way. This is cold and windy in winter, hot and humid in summer. A lot of good farmland, though. A lot of good cattle grazing and where the buffalo roam, so on and so forth. Sorry, I'm not going to sing the whole song for you, but that's where that is there. Now, Ohio, they have a lot of shipping. Toledo, we're going to talk a little bit more about Toledo tomorrow. Cleveland, Columbus, the capital city. Cincinnati's a big city. Notice, all on the big waterways for the shipping. There's the lakes. Here's the rivers. Here's the Ohio River down here. Bigger cities in Ohio, but still a lot of nice farmland. Akron, if you've heard of Akron, that's where LeBron James is from, right? So they're a little bit more famous for bigger cities, but yes, just like the rest of them, they still have great, fertile farmland. I'm sorry I'm skipping all over the place, but here's South Dakota. This is very famous for wheat growing. Yes, they got some cities, but what they're really famous for is what's called the Corn Palace in Mitchell. You can kind of see that Corn Palace. They literally changed the design out here, and all these little things are made from little tiny corn kernels. It takes them a long time to do this, but they change this every year. And again, they just get different color corn kernels, and they make designs for that. If you're learning, that's right here. And if you take a peek right here, they actually have some hillier, not mountainous areas, but that's right here in what they call the Black Hills. And that's where Mount Rushmore is, if you've ever heard of that. Then we have Wisconsin. Now, I know a little bit more about Wisconsin because that's where I went to high school. Cold winters, warm and humid in the summer. Lots to do with the lakes and the riverways. Lots of good cattle and farming. And this is where a lot of your cheese comes from because they raise a lot of cows. Now, most of the time in this area, the landform is plains. Flat area with very, very good soil for growing wheat, for growing corn, and for growing grass to feed all the different cattle and livestock and pigs and things like that. So this is a lot of what the land looks like in that area. And again, the climate, very warm and humid. That means there's a lot of water in the air, which kind of makes it feel warmer in summer. A lot of good rainfall. They have that extreme weather because they have hot summers, cold winters, and in the springtime especially when they have cold air and Arizona pushes up its warm air, that's where that tornado alley comes in. And so that's what happens. And then quite cold and dry in winter. A lot of snow, a lot of ice, a lot of cold weathers. This is a very common scene in the Midwest in summer, a very common scene in the Midwest in winter. Now, here is your assignment for today. It looks a lot like what we've been doing, and I know it's not the quiz and test yet, but we're getting ready for Friday. If you notice, I put in the capital cities. I did also put in some other little dots if you want to put in bigger cities. You don't have to, but I'm going to challenge you today. I'm going to ask you, since we've gone through these last 3 days, I'm going to ask you to try to do this on your own. What I mean is first, Fill in as many state names and capital cities as you can. Try your best with spelling. I know Des Moines, Iowa is a hard thing to spell. Illinois is a hard state name to spell. But try your best to see how well you're doing. This will help you remember how much you need to study for Friday's test, right? And then, secondly, once you can't get any more, then open up the page R6 and R7 and then fill in the rest of the state names and the state capitals, okay? That's your assignment for the day. First, try your best on your own just to see where you're at. And then secondly, open up your books to R6, R7 and fill in the state names and state capitals. Have a wonderful day, guys, as you praise your Savior.